Good morning, everybody. I am live a little bit later today. Um, but I'm here. How is everybody? I've been kind of looking at some of the updates. There's some drama in the courtroom. So, it wasn't me. It wasn't me for the reason. Remember, I was like, was that me? Were people complaining because but I was reading the transcripts from the first day, right? It wasn't even live. Well, nope, it wasn't. It was somebody else, and we will get into that. Somebody was live feeding information live to somebody else, which we'll get into, and that person was reporting. So live Tuesday in the courtroom, a reporter was doing a Google Doc live, like live. It was doing it live, and then the person creator was freaking reporting it live, which that you're not allowed to do. So dude, so that's why we can't get them daily now, the transcripts. But we can get them after, so that'll be okay. But yeah, that's crazy. And going forward, I'll just I'm not going to be able to read all of them. I'll just have to be able to read parts of the transcripts, which is fine. I'll try to highlight and find, some of the highlights of the transcripts and do it that way. So at least by that time I'll have time to go through them all and just pick out like certain highlights. But yeah, so there was some drama in the courtroom, which we're gonna go over. Okay. Oh, thank you, John. Oh, hey, John, what's up? I've been good. How are you? And we're gonna go over yesterday. So Clearpiece, they're called Clearpiece. They contacted me yesterday and today, and they put like a they go through like all the sources and put a nice document after each day. They go through all the people reporting on it, and they did one yesterday, for day one, which I didn't really go through because I had the transcripts. But since I don't have day two, they put like a summary. They go through like all the sources. How awesome! So I have yesterday's where they went through and put together like a compilation and kind of organized it. So we're gonna go through that. But first, I want to go through today's because I know you guys will probably be anxious to hear what's going on today. And then we'll go back and go through yesterday's, the stuff I missed yesterday since I was more focusing on day one yesterday. I am here, yes. Yeah, I don't know. It was just this big misunderstanding. I don't know. Yes, it is. No, you're right. I noticed that when I was turning on my camera. I don't know why. I noticed that. Yeah, it is red. And I don't know why. It's just that. And I wasn't out in the sun yet. I went for a walk yesterday, but it was cool yesterday. So it wasn't like sunny. It was later. It was after the live. Me and my mom and Zeke went for a walk. So I wouldn't have got burnt. I don't know why. But yeah, it does. It looks like it's like sun, but I wouldn't have been in the sun yesterday. It is. It's all red. And this one's not. I don't know. Oh, thank you. Oh, 1,000 gems. Thank you, John. How have you been? Have you been following the David case? So after I get done with this live, I'm going to catch up on my Ciders case. I have a video I was working on for that and seeing if there's any updates because I got to get back to that case too. That's a local one. Yeah, maybe. No, it's not violence. And it goes down to my neck. Look. No, it's definitely not any violence. I'm trying to. No, I sleep mostly on my left side though. I either sleep on my back or my left side. I never sleep on my right side. So that's weird. What could that be? Dude, what if it was I had my iPad and the iPad would probably be more on my right side. What if it was the blue light from the iPad? They say that's bad for your skin, but dang it. I fell asleep with it on, and I didn't realize it was on, but it was dead by the morning, so I knew it had to be on all night. It was dead. Okay, let's get through this. Not get through this. Let's get to this. Hey, Darth. Hey, American. Okay. Will, thank you for making it. Yes, I did. Will, I messaged you back. I messaged you back on I think it was the Proton mail or the Gmail. The commands. I messaged you back probably like 20 minutes ago, maybe 10 minutes ago. I gave you the most important commands that I knew off the top of my head. Sorry it took me so long. I was going through some stuff yesterday trying to, it was crazy. I was freaking out, panic attack, because I was worried that I don't know. It was just, it's a long story. Maybe I'll explain it sometime. But I come to realize it wasn't me this whole time. I thought I did something wrong and it was a whole different account. But the reason I thought maybe it was me is because the court reporter asked me around that same time if I was in the court. And I was like, no, I wasn't in there. And I was like, why does you have to be in the court to request transcripts? But now I know why, because there was somebody in the court, had nothing to do with me, but she was asking, thinking it was me for some reason. And I was like, no, I'm not in the court. I didn't even know like why she was asking that. But now I know why. And they figured out who it was. So it was not me. I didn't even know anything about it till today when I got texted like at Lauren's updates, and I looked at Lauren Cullen updates, and then I saw Steve Fisher talking about they caught the person and she had to stand up and leave the court, and I know who she's with, which will go well. It's Anna Louise from 10 to Life. She was the person that was in a different state reporting. Her team was in there live transmitting the information. So they found out who it was. So I guess maybe the court reporter was just asking because they were trying to figure it out, maybe who was doing it. I wasn't anywhere near California. I wish I was. I wish I was at the court. Anyway. Wait, what, American? Wasn't me that even caught me on camera. Wasn't me. Wait, what are you talking about, American? Are you trying to say it was me? I don't understand what you're saying. No, it wasn't. Huh? They even caught me on camera. Wasn't me. Huh? I don't understand that comment. It's just, oh, okay. I was like, wait, are you trying to say it was me? No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Anna Louise's assistant. I'll play the little video. She admits it on her short. Like, look, here, I'll show you what this is about. Let me show you Annie, or let me show you Lauren's update, and then I'll show you the clip that Reddit has of Annie. I guess she took down, like, probably the live stream. She took down her stuff, but Reddit has one of her shorts up where she admits, she says, I have somebody live streaming me the information. So this video that I'll show you, it's from yesterday live at the courthouse, which now I can play it because now it's not live anymore. But like she was doing it live. Yes. Okay, so here we go. Let me share my screen. Zeke's sitting beside me, so I don't have his camera shared yet because he's right beside me anyway. And you can't see him when he's beside me. Oh, sorry. He's right here. Okay. All right, so let's go over Lauren's update. And then, like I said, we'll go over the updates from today, and then I'll go back over the people that posted from like last night. They were able to do a complete thing. But because of what Annie and her team did, they weren't allowed to bring in laptops today, the media. Therefore, they're not gonna have as good of notes today because they can't type the notes. So it's kind of bull crap. Okay, so I'll show you. Oh, wait, so she did 2 updates so far. Hold on. Hold on, let me go preliminary. Oh, she has a lot. Hold on a second. Cool. We got a lot. We got a lot to go over that Lauren updated. Okay. Yes. She is on it. I tell ya. She reminds me of like Hidden, Lauren from Hidden True Crime. Like when she goes to trials, she does really good job. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it does. It translates into money. The gems do. And I'm not sure how it translates yet. I haven't really compared to like how many 1,000 gems cost. I have to look that up, but it translates into money. Yeah. I think it's like Doesn't Instagram or TikTok use that kind of platform where they do like gems or sticker? Like, well, I guess we still always had stickers, but yeah, it translates. Yep. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's go over these updates, guys. So Lauren, this is from today now. She says, David's preliminary hearing, day 3, morning break. Video coming out lunch. Be on the lookout for Taylor Priest. Okay. Judge opened up court very frustrated, putting several issues on the record before testimony resumed. Judge said an email was sent to the media office at 3:51 p.m. yesterday regarding a shared Google Docs file that included a live transmission from the courtroom to a content creator in another state who was reporting live. She called it shocking that the order was allegedly violated, reiterating that media are prohibited from live transmitting from inside the courtroom. The judge also reread the court's media order into the record and referenced previously calling out the attorney for the Rivas family over the same concerns. Wow. Prosecutor Beth Silverman then told the court on the record that a woman seated in the last row of the gallery approached her several times and made comments directed at her, negative comments. Silverman then turned around and looked at P.I. Fisher, saying he was a grand jury witness and should not be present in the courtroom, and also claimed he spoke with Rivas family attorney Patrick Steinfeld in the lobby and he shouldn't have. She said he should be excluded, adding he'll post something because he posts something every day. Which, after I go through all these updates that Lauren did and stuff, there's a little interview where Steve explains this so you could hear what he had to say. Patrick Seinfeld stood up and said he was actually the one that approached Steve Fisher. So the Celeste lawyer stood up and said, no, he didn't approach me. I was actually the one that approached him. I do think that was wrong. As much as I disagree with a lot of stuff he does, like that right there was wrong. And hearing him describe some of how Beth was acting, I don't understand. I mean, I don't know though, because here's the thing. You're going to have one side's view and the other. So I would like to hear both sides, to be honest, before I judge. But as far as, you know, this whole issue with, I guess he even said, hey, I approached him. And he said, and the conversation was 15 seconds. And Steve was gracious to the judge and left the courtroom. After the on-record discussion finished, prosecutor Beth Silverman turned toward family attorney Patrick Steinfeld, and the two appeared to have a heated exchange. From where I was seated, I overheard Silverman say, push me. You'll see how far that goes, and I'll pull your badge. Whoa. And then criminalist Lauren Wallace's cross-exam resumed with defense attorney Blair Burke focusing on evidence that was not collected or tested. Wait, hold on. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Okay. Hope, I just texted you something. Anyway, so criminalist Lauren Wallace's cross-exam resumed with defense attorney Blair Burke focusing on evidence that was not collected or tested. Wallace testified the two apparently chainsaw colors are orange and black, not red and black, and the pink one. Chainsaw handles were not swabbed for touch DNA because presumptive testing for biological material was negative. More specifically, it was a phenolphthalein. I don't know how to pronounce that. I should have looked it up. I usually like to look up how to pronounce things correctly because, yeah, I got people in chat that'll come at me. Anyway, but it was negative, they're saying. So the chainsaw handlers did not have DNA. They didn't find DNA on the chainsaws, which are really interesting. And I'm still confused about how many chainsaws there were, which ones were found, because there were some people that reported it initially and said there was 3 chainsaws, only 2 were found. And then yesterday there was a report that said, oh no. And then on the transcripts it said all 3 were found. I don't get it. I don't get it. Or I think at one point on the transcripts it said one thing and then it said the other. I have to look that over again. Anyway, so he's saying, she said some items were still collected despite negative testing, while others were not because investigators determined they lacked forensic value. Yeah, look, there was missing chainsaw. Burke questioned Wallace about a third electric handheld saw found in the storage closet. Wallace testified it was not collected because, it wasn't collected because the phenolphthalein testing was negative, and investigators said it had no forensic value. I thought they were all negative, though. Investigators found jugs of fake blood and trays in the garage. Oh, we know what that's from. The shirts he was making. We saw, if you guys go look at my playlist, I have done so many videos on this case, but the videos where you could tell it's in the garage where he's making, there's a couple of shorts he did where he's making those bloody t-shirts. He has a few people helping him, the handprints, and then he sells it for his merch, right? Because there were some rumors like, was he ever using real blood? I mean, maybe for his personal shirts. Who freaking knows? Now that we learn he's a freaking murderer, he may have. Anyway, it said, but presumptive testing was negative because it was fake. Yeah. Wallace said those observations were documented in her report. Burke asked whether Wallace documented finding a large box containing a burn cage. Wallace said she did not. Wallace also testified she never observed the burn cage itself and was not instructed to search the home's second floor, where the box burn cage had been photographed. Let me take a second. Wait, she was not. So she wasn't instructed to search the home's second floor where that was at. Okay. On redirect, Silverman pointed out. So remember, Burke is David's lawyer. Silverman is the prosecutor. Okay. It's Blair Burke and Beth Silverman. Okay. So on redirect, Silverman pointed out that the investigators do not collect every item at a crime scene, only those deemed to have forensic value, and Wallace agreed. Wallace explained that even collected evidence is not automatically tested. Detectives and forensic analysts determine which items are most likely to have useful DNA evidence, and that's true. If you see, they can't test a whole surface area of everything. They have to decide. I thought it was always interesting when certain cases they'll have like shirt or some piece of evidence, and it's like, how do they determine which parts of that shirt or clothes or whatever that they want to test? And I think from like experience and statistics, there's certain maybe areas that may have it more likely to have certain things, or depending on the case. But yeah, they can't do the whole thing. It's expensive. It just would take forever. So I mean, I get that. It said criminalist Lisa of the LAPD trace analysis unit took the stand. Lisa testified she has 26 years with LAPD, including 22 in trace analysis, examining evidence such as hairs, fibers, gunshot residue, and other microscopic trace evidence. Her examination focused on the inflatable pool and the victim's clothing. We saw photos of the inflatable pool and a diagram identifying areas of the damage. She testified she recovered hairs, fibers, plant material, and possible foam-like flakes that had become loose from the pool and examined them under a stereo microscope. She also observed possible footwear impressions on the pool and attempted to recover them using an electrostatic dust print lifter, but testified the impressions were too difficult to collect. She identified 4 damaged areas in the pool labeled A, B, C, and D. She described the damage as a combination of straight linear cuts and irregular scalloped cuts, with some cuts penetrating completely through the pool's material. Alejandro compared the blue plastic fragments submitted by the medical examiner's office to damaged areas of the pool using stereo microscope. We saw photos demonstrating that several fragments physically fit into a missing sections of the pool, similar to assembling puzzle pieces. Wow. Additionally, photos showed roughly a dozen smaller blue fragments that shared the same characteristics as the pool material. Alejandro testified they could have originated from the pool, but she could not conclude they were an exact physical match because portions of the fragments were missing. She confirmed the blue fragments were received from the medical examiner's office in sealed evidence bags. A sealed plastic evidence envelope containing a small blue fragment and hairs were also displayed to the court. Okay. All right. So then let's go up because she has other stuff from earlier today. So that was the first one, and here's the second one, or second update. David's preliminary hearing day 3. Okay. Burke trips back and forth to Santa Barbara County, April 23rd, May 8th, and May 31st. So all 3 days. He went April 23rd, May 8th, May 31st. So the April 23rd, 24th, 2025 trip, 11:01 to 11:11 p.m. Burke's cell phone and Tesla were both located at the Doheny Drive residence. Cell tower placed both at the home. Okay, so we have the Tesla and his phone. And then at 11:31, 11:35, Burke's cell phone began moving away from the residence. Data suggests the phone and Tesla were traveling westbound, possibly on Sunset Boulevard. 12:04, April 24th, Burke's phone placed an outgoing call to Celeste Rivas. The call went directly to voicemail. Rocker testified this could mean her phone was off, in airplane mode, or outside network coverage. So remember, it was 10 o'clock or 10:20 that she got there. Remember that the DoorDash or that the Uber dropped her off. I forget if it was 10 or 10:20. So then after, so about an hour after she got there, average hour after she got there, is when his Tesla started moving away. Now, when we go over the blood evidence, now I think that he did try to take her to Santa Barbara in the car after he killed her, laid her in the back seat, and was going to bury her, maybe. Whether he did and unburied her and took her out, I'm guessing he just didn't feel comfortable anywhere and he couldn't make up his mind. He got paranoid and drove her back because there was blood on the back row of the Tesla. So I'm thinking his intention going out there was to bury her. And maybe after he killed her, he brought her out there and was going to do it, maybe. Or maybe that first time he didn't bring her out there, maybe the second time he brought her out there and changed his mind. I'm not sure. But I think he did at one point because it was bloody in the back seat of the Tesla. Yeah. It's just my opinion. And I saw somebody saying, oh, so 12:04, that's when he said, where are you? But I'm pretty sure, I'm going to go back over the document. I'm pretty sure it was a text it was a text to her phone where he said, hey, right? That was like right after, maybe around 10 something, where he said, hey, where are you? I think then he made a call. I think that was a separate thing. I'm going to finish reading this and I'm going to pull up that document to see. It says the call went directly to voicemail. And it says basically could mean her phone was off, airplane mode, or outside of the network coverage. At 1:28 a.m., cell tower records placed Burke's phone near State Route 154, San Marcos Pass in Santa Barbara County. Tesla data also showed the vehicle in the same general area. So his cell and vehicle both in same area. At 4 to 7 a.m., basically those 3 hours, the phone remained connected to northern cell towers before returning south. At 7:07 a.m., both the phone and Tesla had returned toward the Doheny residence. We also saw a map placing the phone and Tesla near a remote area off of SR 154, where investigators later recovered evidence. May 8th and 9th, 8 p.m., Tesla data and phone were located, placing them at Doheny residence. So wait, 8 p.m. Yeah, okay. Wait, Tesla data and phone were located, placing them. Okay, so he's saying basically at 8 p.m. on May 8th, they were located at his residence. Around 1 a.m., May 9th, Tesla data showed the vehicle back near the SR 154 corridor in Santa Barbara County. And then at 1:50 to 1:51 a.m., cell phone and Tesla records showed nearly simultaneous connections to the same area. So wait, at 1 a.m., 1:50, 1:51. Roker testified the two devices continued traveling together. 5:15 a.m., Tesla data showed the vehicle had returned to the Doheny residence. Now we're at May 31st, 1:25 to 5:52 p.m. Burke's phone started near Doheny before traveling toward the SR 154 area. So he goes right back out there. At 4:47 to 4:48 p.m., cell phone and Tesla records connected to the same tower within about a minute of each other. 6 to 8:20, data showed the phone and Tesla traveling back south to Doheny residence. Okay, I'm going to try to find a video real quick to play because I want to bring up the original court document where I want to see about the text, about when they said that he said, "Where are you?" If it was a text or a phone call. I think it was a text. So I think this phone call is a different thing, to be honest. But let me try to find a video to play. Oh, I haven't seen this one. This is Steve. Okay, I'll play this while I go find that.
Speak a little bit.
Wait, hold on. Let me bring this up real quick and move it over here so when I find it. Okay.
Speak a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, so Beth Silverman is not a fan of mine. More of that, I think, will come out as transcripts are released from grand juries and whatnot. Maybe the reason why she does not like the fact that I have kept the story. I've tried to keep it in the media. Well, nothing seemed to be happening, and this is before grand juries were going on. And what happened in the hallway, which really kind of shocked me, was the family attorney for Celeste family. He came up and introduced himself. I didn't know who he was. I never met him, and he took me aside, and we had a few nice words, and he thanked me for advocating for Celeste. And that Silverman walked by and heard that, and actually grabbed him. And
oh, this is that same one from yesterday. Sorry,
he was not allowed to talk to me.
Oh, this is that same one, but actually it's good to watch this because we're going to talk about this too, about him and her. So hold on.
Heard that, and actually grabbed him and told him she was not allowed to talk to me, that he was not allowed to talk to me, and pulled him away. And that's really bizarre from a district attorney to say that an attorney for the family is not allowed to talk to me. It's really perplexing. I don't understand why that happened or the legalities around that. But she pulled him away and said right in front of you too, but in front of a lot of people, you're not allowed to talk to him. You're not talking to him. And
have you ever had an interaction with a prosecutor like that before?
Never. I mean, I've had a couple with this one, where she actually gave me a handwritten note at one point and told me I had to appear in court. And I had to, in order to protect myself, I had to put that out on social media because it was like an underground hearing. She was trying to have me punished for speaking about the case. And there's been some, detectives knocking on my home door at 6 a.m. in the morning. Detectives from her office, from the DA's office, not LAPD. So it's very bizarre. I don't know why she's so worried about me, but she is.
All right, thank you.
Shoot, I'm trying to go through this document to find it. Let me try to find a different video to play. God, I didn't realize it's a long document. Okay. I don't know why.
Speak a little bit about what happened.
Okay, okay, so yeah, that's the same update. Hold on. So here's the clothing evidence. Okay, you know what I'm going to do real quick? We're going to read that, but I'm just trying to find this document here, a part in this document. So let me find, hold on a second. I have another video that we can watch. Where is it? Just until I get this. This is her recap from yesterday. We'll watch a part of it now until I find that document, okay? And then we'll go over the rest of today. But this is her recap from yesterday.
All right, we just wrapped day 2 of the David preliminary hearing. So I'm going to kind of do what I did on day 1, where I talk to you guys for a minute. I'm just gonna play my video from this morning after that, and then I will play my my recap from the afternoon after that. But overall, today was definitely not as gruesome at all as day one. It was heavily focused on forensics. We heard from 2 criminologists. We heard the rest of the finance director at Mogulvision, his testimony, and there's some interesting things about that. And there is a new name that you should all pay attention to, because I think we're going to be hearing about this name a lot. He is a security guard or bodyguard that apparently lived with David for 6 months, who allegedly knew about what was going on between he and Celeste. And then in the second half of my updates, I do talk about some very, very awkward moments in court. Very awkward moments. The defense attorney Blair Burke and the prosecutor Beth Silverman, I mean, they just hate each other. It's just very awkward, some of these exchanges to watch them. But anyway, here are my updates. I did these updates earlier, again, right when court adjourned for lunch, and then right when it adjourned for the day. So hopefully you find them helpful, and don't forget to go to lamag.com for my articles as well. All right, it's day 2 of David's preliminary hearings. Very dark, not quite as dark as yesterday, but when David entered the courtroom, again, shackled and cuffed, he was uncuffed, and he was shackled at the waist still. His lawyer, Blair Burke, she did the thing where she kind of rubs his back and whispered to him, and it really does give me vibes of like Leslie Abramson with the Menendez brothers. Brian Ented pointed out that Ann Taylor also did this with Brian Kohberger. I think that some of these female defense attorneys, they think that it makes their male client maybe seem like less of an alleged monster. So I did notice that. And David, once again, very casual, very unfazed, sitting back in his chair, you know, watching the screen, watching the witnesses, no type of emotion whatsoever. So Marilyn Benartsky, one of his defense attorneys, continued her cross-examination of former Mogulvision finance director Benjamin Gregor, who again was testifying that nearly all of David's finances were handled by his mother. I think the defense was really trying to hone in here that although the people is claiming that these crimes or these alleged crimes were financially motivated, truthfully, he didn't know how much money he had. Gregor said that, sorry if you can hear me. Gregor said again, you know, David didn't really have much involvement. He never asked him how much money he was making or what was coming in. And Marilyn Bednartsky tried to ask him about a charity or a trust that was used for giving to charity. She kept bringing this up. There were objections to this, just to, you know, like, why are we even talking about this? What's the relevance here? And the judge sustained the objections because she's like, yeah, this is a probable cause hearing. And I was like, I see what they're doing, but, you know, there's no jury here. So stop trying to say he gives to charity. This was interesting. There is a new name to watch for, a bodyguard named Sheldon. Sheldon Jaculus, I think I heard, but it was tough. Even Gregor, the witness, couldn't quite tell us his last name. So he was identified, Sheldon, as Burke's live-in security guard, and Gregor testified that he lived at David's home for about 6 months, but Gregor said that he never discussed what happened inside the home with David ever. And also this was during the redirect examination with Beth Silverman. So she also pointed out during this redirect that, you know, well, you say David didn't have any, he didn't have any say in his finances, but, you know, he signed this contract himself, or he signed the contract for this home that he bought. So he kind of knew something about how much money he had. And Gregor said, yeah, okay, you know, I got it. He also Gregor acknowledged that David did have an account or a credit card or two, or both, outside of what he managed for Mogulvision. So let's see. Gregor did point out that at one point he was asked about the trips, the trip to London, the trip to Texas. You know, did David purchase this through anything you saw under the Mogulvision accounts? And he said no. And Beth Silverman kind of insinuated, okay, right, so he purchased this through his own account, which he managed. And Gregor was like, yeah, probably. Then it came up, Silverman asked if Gregor ever discussed Celeste going to London with Colleen Burke or Josh Marshall, and he said no, but then he did end up admitting that he discussed Celeste traveling to London with Robert Morgenroth, in which he said he just kind of asked him if it was true. Like, is it true she traveled to London with David? And I'm paraphrasing here. And again, yes, Gregor said he later learned the airline tickets were bought through one of Burke's personal accounts, nothing that he manages. So then Silverman goes back to this bodyguard, Sheldon, towards the end of her redirect, and she's like, so, and it was very forceful. She was like, did you ever discuss David and Celeste having fake IDs or drugs and alcohol or partying or...
Wait, I gotta stop this. So they asked, is it true that you asked? Why didn't they ask, well, what did Rob say? So he admitted that he did ask Rob if it was true about Celeste traveling with David, right? But there was no follow-up on, okay, did Rob say, oh, maybe that'd be hearsay? Would that be hearsay where she can't ask him, well, what did he say? Probably, huh? Dang it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Sometimes I get confused what's hearsay and what you could say other people said.
Sheldon driving them to parties. And it was like, whoa. There were some objections. And Gregor was like, nope, no. So I'm thinking that the line of questioning around this Sheldon character was very significant. So we should probably remember this name. And also I want to point out the judge, Almeida, she was definitely frustrated quite a few times with both the prosecution and the defense. I would say namely the defense over just certain lines of questioning that she thought that were going beyond the scope, but they were still kind of being, argumentative. And there was like another point where Beth Silverman, she said something to Beth Silverman, the judge, and Beth Silverman's like, actually, I was going for impeachment. I was like, so yeah, it got a little hostile for a minute. And then the next witness, this was kind of long and drawn out, very much about David's financials. Louis Pomeroy, excuse my pronunciation. He was the VP of finance at Interscope, worked there for about 3 years. He really just went through the money that David amassed from 2022 to 2025. I put some of this on Twitter, some of these numbers, and what he also highlighted through Beth Silverman was something called a Coogan account, which is basically through California law, 15% of these earnings, if you are a minor, has to go to this Coogan account, which, your parents or your, whatever, I'm blanking on the word. Basically, this money goes to a minor and your parents or your guardians cannot access this. And so they were kind of hinting that, okay, in 2022, David made $950K, so 15% went to the Coogan account. And I think it's gross. I think in my tweet, the numbers may be off because it's gross income or gross earnings. And then in 2023, he made $3.869 million. So yeah, I did the math out. And again, it could be slightly off, but that's $142K around going into the Coogan account in 2022. And in 2023, that's about $580,000 going into that account. So, again, I'm waiting for the exhibits to be ready. And hopefully I can sort of give you the exact numbers. I did the best I could for my story on lamag.com, although I said some of those numbers are subject to change. I forgot my glasses. I could not see the screen very well, but I do think they are largely accurate. But again, I will be making changes once I get those exhibits if necessary. So yeah, let me see what else. I mean, during the cross-examination by Marilyn Bednarski, which was pretty tough, he wasn't really understanding some of her questions about the contracts and this and that, the contracts that were broken with David, and it was just very slow. But one thing she did point out was that, isn't it true that once you turn 18, no money goes into this Coogan account anymore? And he's like, I don't really know the logistics, but per the chart, he turned 18 in 2023, and there was no money allocated to that account anymore. So then after that, we saw the Caltrans worker that actually found Celeste's passport. And sorry, I'm going to that right now. Okay, so the Caltrans worker, Sean Buena Rostro. He got a call from dispatch about January 7th, 2026, 1 p.m. in the afternoon, 1:40 in the afternoon, excuse me. A Caltrans worker was working, and he actually gave us the location. West Camino Cielo Road. This is off of Highway 154. It's east of this road. It's a 2-lane highway separated by double yellow lines. And then there's a steep dirt embankment on the right side of the road. And we were kind of shown the area. He showed us where it was found. It was, brush and this and that. And he took photos, and he had pointed to the area where he found it. And then he dropped a pin for the GPS locations. He also said that the Caltrans worker, upon finding this, Googled Celeste's name and noticed who she was. So that's why he called the police. During cross-examination, Regina Peter just kind of was like, so was he wearing gloves when he found it? Like, did you put this ID in anything, like a bag, when you transported it back to the station, in Santa Barbara? And the Santa Barbara cop, Buena Rostro, said, no, I didn't have anything. She asked if he knew if the ID was found face up or face down. He didn't. She asked if it could have gotten there, by way of weather. He said he didn't know. And then she just pointed out that the GPS coordinates that he noted actually took them to the highway instead of this area with the brush. And, he just said that he dropped the pin with the satellite overview, not the traffic overview. She was just trying to poke holes and kind of where it was and how it got there. And I know what she was trying to do. I mean, it was, I don't know. It was interesting, but it didn't sway me either way. And then the last witness before we stopped was Chelsea Murillo, who was an LAPD criminologist who found lots of air freshener in the Tesla. Lots and lots of air freshener. One of them said love is in the air, but I will have more later. All right, I decided to record the second half of day 2 of David's preliminary hearing right outside the courthouse. If you missed the first half or the morning portion of my recap, just head to the playlist on YouTube, David and Celeste. You can catch up there. But the afternoon was very much focused on forensics, but there were a couple just awkward moments that I just kind of want to touch upon before I get into the forensics. So before the proceedings started in the afternoon, Celeste Rivas Hernandez family attorney Patrick Steinfeld kind of went up before the judge because she said, the Rivas family attorney wants to put this on record here, that basically he was told that he could not use a laptop in court, and the judge kind of felt like he didn't handle it well with the court officers. And she kind of said, I have rules, these are my rules, but these are also just, general rules where the media can have their laptops in the last 2 rows, but there is no transmission, there is no emailing, there is no texting, and you will be kicked out if this happens. So she kind of had him, in front, and she's just like, I just advise you next time to be a little bit more courteous to the court staff. So that was something. And
wait, I missed that. Who was he talking? Who was she just talking about? Hold on, let me rewind that. I missed who she was talking about because this is day 2. I just was playing this because I wanted to look up a court document. We might as well just watch the rest of it before we get to day 3. I want to
handle it well with the court officers. And she kind of said,
wait, hold on. I'll fast forward it back. I just want to see who she was talking about.
Celeste Rivas Hernandez family attorney Patrick Steinfeld kind of went up before the judge because she said, the Rivas family attorney wants to put this on record here, that basically he was told that he could not use a laptop in court, and the judge kind of felt like he didn't handle it well with the court officers. And she kind of said, I have rules, these are my rules, but these are also just, general rules where the media can have their laptops in the last 2 rows, but there is no transmission, there is no emailing, there is no texting, and you will be kicked out if this happens. So she kind of had him, in front, and she's just like, I just advise you next time to be a little bit more courteous to the court staff. So that was something. And then after that, the defense, Blair Burke, said, Your Honor, I just want to put something on the record here that she said, I just want to put on the record here that this presentation that we are seeing with the prosecution and their current witness, this is the first I've seen it. This is the first I've heard of it. So, blah, blah, blah. And then Beth Silverman says, nope, that is false. You know, you saw this weeks ago, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was just a whole thing. So that was kind of awkward. And then just skipping ahead to right after the afternoon break, just to sort of tie some of these awkward moments together. Right after the afternoon break, Beth Silverman says, I want to put something on the record. And she says, you know, I tried to take photographs of some of the defense evidence, and I was not allowed to. She goes into this whole thing. And then Blair Burke says, yeah, you had told us, and she's saying this to the judge, you had told us we had to redact certain portions of the evidence. And I think she was referring to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Her passport was shown on the screen. There was some identifying information that she wanted to redact, and you know, so she goes into this, and then Beth Silverman is like, that is false. I mean, it was just very argumentative. She's like, that is false. That didn't happen. This is what happened. And the judge was like, look, I think you guys are coming off a trial and there might be some lingering tensions here. So she's like, I would just advise you to, you know, figure those out, take that up on your own. And it was just, again, a very awkward moment. And then the last awkward moment was, there was a little issue with the screen, and a tech came in, and there was, I guess, the chainsaws on the screen, the red and white chainsaw and the pink chainsaw, and I guess the tech had pink shoes on, and Beth Silverman's like, oh, your pink shoes match the pink chainsaw. A bunch of us were like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Weird.
But enough about that. Okay,
that is weird.
Let's get into what happened in the afternoon. So we heard from two criminologists. One criminologist, let me get her name. Her name was Chelsea Murillo, and she was on the stand really talking about her investigation and her testing when it came to David's Tesla. So she just basically, I mean, again, this was pretty standard. She walked the court through certain photographs of the Tesla. She testified about finding the air fresheners I mentioned in the rear door pockets and in the console, and then in the frunk. And when we saw the photos in the frunk, they were just covered with insects and maggots and liquid, and it was just very gross. And I had mentioned on a prior video that the air freshener, one said love is in the air, and that kind of made me, just gave me chills for a minute. So yeah, there was a lot of just photographs of these close-up, just dense maggots and whatnot inside of the trunk. So she also explained that investigators tested portions of the vehicle using phenylphthalein. I'm going to call it pheno from now on. And so she said that she also applied Blue Star, which is a chemical enhancement used, like luminol, used to detect traces of blood. So it's just important to note that they, like the criminologist, could not conclusively say this is blood. It's a presumptive positive is what it's called. So, and they called them reddish stains as well. So she identified several reddish stains in the quote, rear cargo of the trunk, and obviously as well as the frunk. And then there were also some reddish stains in the third row of the Tesla, where Beth Silverman kind of said, so is it possible that, you know, the victim could have been placed in the third row at a certain point? There was an objection. You know, they said it was leading, and then she rephrased it, but yes, that was possible. So she also testified that a USB flash drive or memory stick was also recovered from the glove department or compartment, but we don't know the contents of that. On cross-examination, Blair Burke kind of focused on just the handling and processing of the vehicle. She testified, or Murillo testified, the front trunk was closed when she began the examination. She said, yes, we wore gloves. Burke brought up some kind of handwritten correction on the forensic request form, but Murillo was like, I don't know when that was made. It doesn't really apply to me. Murillo confirmed that she did not perform pheno testing on the vehicle's exterior at all, but she explained that she did swab portions of the front of the Tesla for potential touch DNA after she saw disturbances in the dust that was kind of covering the Tesla, because there was dust everywhere. Burke also got her to say that they did not test the interior or the exterior of the trunk. Basically, she just said those were not chemically tested. And then she also made it clear that the reddish stains that are identified, they produce only, like I said, presumptive positive results. Let me see what else. So one thing I quoted, she said, "So you can't determine when the reddish stains were placed there or who placed the stains there." And Murillo said, "No, I could not." Let's see. Oh, there was also the question of Photoshop. So some of these images, she said, you know, did you guys use Photoshop to enhance these? That was the whole thing. And she said, well, I don't know which ones were, quote, enhanced, but, you know, none of them were altered to the point of, you know, that it would be an issue. And I'm paraphrasing. And later during the redirect, it was confirmed that most national crime labs do these type of enhancements to try to show where the blood stains were, and that this is pretty typical. And then the last witness of the day was Lauren Wallace. Lauren Wallace, she was an LAPD criminalist assigned to the Field Investigation Unit, and she tested items that were found inside of David's home during the September 17th search warrant. So some new items, I mean, we heard about, you know, most of them with the inflatable pool. They found a dryer sheet in the inflatable pool. During cross-examination, Blair Burke's like, so you didn't take the dryer sheet in, you didn't test it? And she said no. But she talked about finding the several linear cuts in the inflatable pool. There were 2 tarps that I hadn't heard of or seen before, several garbage bags, some with white cloths with reddish stains on them as well. Let's see, a Tesla charging table that had reddish stains on it, and a rubber floor. There were rubber floor mats near a rowing machine. Both had reddish stains on it. And underneath the floor mat, there seemed to be possible seepage of blood as well on this brick floor. So that was pretty much.
See, this is what I was saying. If you guys go back and watch my previous videos on it, I always was thinking, that maybe he lured her into the garage. He had the tarps, whether it was inside or outside when he initially killed her. I figured he probably had the tarps laying on the ground, because it wouldn't be that odd to have tarps on the ground, because he uses tarps for his shirts. He could have made it seem like he was working on something and kind of had lured Celeste to be over the tarp when he stabbed her. So then there wouldn't have been a huge blood everywhere. The tarp probably caught most of it. But let's say he did it in the garage. Some of it could have leaked down with those rubber mats. And I even said, like, they probably collected some of those rubber mats that had blood on them. Hence why SF kept saying they didn't do any testing on any of the stuff in the house. Well, yeah, they did. They did testing on some of the stuff that the blood was on. I mean, they're saying it, right? So there was blood on the, there was tarps, there was those rubber mats in the garage. I still think he lured her into the garage and did it all in the garage, killed her. And he did it right on top of a tarp where she didn't think anything of it, because he had tarps in his house to do different projects. So he had it so there was not a huge blood spill anywhere. Probably threw away even some of the tarps, who knows? He's sick. I can't stand, it just makes me sick. All right, let me pull this back up. I think she's about done, and then I will I'll show you that court document I wanted to go over. I think this is about done.
I guess overall for the afternoon, I was told by Detective Byers today, I cornered him after, that we should be hearing from the medical examiner tomorrow.
Which is today. So. Or
that will be today if you are watching this. So on Thursday.
I didn't even know she was going to say that. That's so funny. I was like, today. She's like, and if you're watching it today. That's funny that she. Okay.
Medical examiner. All right.
Okay. So cool. Good job, Lauren. All right. So that was good. Okay. So now I want to play one of her updates she just did. It was like 20 so minutes ago today. Right here. Let's watch this. And then I'll show you the court document in a minute. I just want to play this real quick, see what she has to say.
All right, day 3 of David's preliminary hearing, and the morning was definitely very awkward, very, very bizarre. We started off with the judge wanting to make an announcement on the record about someone in the media doing live transmission on Wednesday, I guess the media office. got a call about this, and it was actually really annoying, I think, to a lot of journalists, because when we walked in this morning, we were told that we might not be able to have our laptops because of this person, and I was like, are you kidding me? But no, then you kind of felt bad for them because they got admonished in front of the judge and they were asked to leave, and yeah, so that was that. And following that, Beth Silverman said she wanted to make an announcement on the record, basically saying that someone in the gallery, a woman she didn't see in the moment, was making comments to her, negative comments to her, and I guess she wanted that on the record. It was pretty bizarre, but then she turned around and she looked at Steve Fisher, who was in the gallery. He's a private investigator. He did some work, or he does some work for the homeowner, the man that owns the home that David rented in the Hollywood Hills, and she was just like, Steve can't be here. He was a grand jury witness. Oh, and we saw him talking in the hallway to the Rivas Hernandez family attorney, and he shouldn't have done that. And she just said he's going to be posting because he posts every day anyway. I was like, oh my goodness. And Steve stood up and he was very polite and gracious about it. But then the Rivas Hernandez attorney stood up and just said, I just want to clarify, that I was the one that approached Steve. It was a 15-second conversation. That's all it was. And Steve's like, yeah, let's put that on the record. And then Steve left. And then what was crazy was that I guess Beth Silverman kind of turned around, and this is not on the record, but she turned around to talk to Patrick Steinfeld, and they were getting, or at least I heard her get loud with him. And she said something like, push me, you'll see how far that goes, or I'll pull your badge. And I was like, well, this is an interesting start. So anyway, we started off with the first witness being the criminologist from Wednesday, who was Lauren Wallace. Blair Burke was finishing off her cross-examination, and her focus again was based on evidence that wasn't collected or tested. So we went back to the two chainsaws that did not get tested, because when they were tested for phenolphthalein, it came back as negative. And I'm so bad at pronouncing that, sorry. Phenolphthalein.
Me too, thank you, me too.
Because that test was negative, they said they didn't need to
Phenolphthalein,
test it
okay.
for touch DNA or anything else. And then we heard about the third chainsaw, which some people have said or described it as, quote, missing. This chainsaw was a handheld chainsaw, and it was found in a closet, or a storage closet.
Okay.
And this was also not tested for touch DNA either, because it came back negative when they tested for the phenolphthalein. So because of that, it wasn't tested and it wasn't collected. And Wallace kind of said, not everything we collect anyway gets tested. It's sometimes up to the investigators. We discussed this. It's just physically impossible to test everything that we collect anyway. She also said they found jugs of fake blood and trays in the garage, which they did the pheno testing. That was negative, so they didn't log this into evidence either. She was asked about the burn cage, if she saw it. She said she didn't. She wasn't instructed to search over there. And then on redirect, Beth Silverman said, reiterated that not everything at a crime scene that is collected gets tested, only things that are deemed to have potential forensic value. And Wallace agreed. And let me see. Yeah, and she reiterated again that they work together, criminologists and analysts and detectives, to see what most likely would be useful that would have DNA evidence. So they just didn't deem those items useful because of the negative phenolphthalein testing. So the next witness was then LAPD criminologist Lisa Lehendro, a 26-year veteran of the department. So she focused on Celeste's clothing and the inflatable pool. So I'll start with the inflatable pool. She identified some hairs, fibers, plant material, and possible foam-like flakes on this pool using a stereo microscope. She collected these herself. Some fell off manually onto a special mat that she used. And this was also talked about during Blair Burke's cross-examination. So what she did was, there were several pieces that we saw of the blue fragments that she got from the medical examiner's office. And she kind of described putting these into the inflatable pool like a puzzle. So there were several pieces that fit. But then there were also about a dozen very, very small pieces that had the same characteristics as the pool material, and it could have originated from the pool, but she could not definitively conclude that they were physical matches because some of the portions of the fragments were missing. They were just small, they were kind of graded, and so again, we also saw later on when we saw photos of Celeste's clothing, her leggings, there were blue fragments embedded in the leggings and some of the clothes. So it was brutal. Her clothes were displayed and it was awful. I mean, the clothing was in very, very poor condition, very strong odors, significant deterioration, and basically soiled. I think her tube top was yellow at one point. It was very hard to tell. She had like brownish socks, Victoria's Secret underwear. The socks were Skechers. The tube top was Forever 21, sorry. And then her black leggings, they appeared to be ripped in half. Sorry.
Oh, because she was dismembered, though. He probably cut right through them. That's probably why, you know?
So, we saw a close-up of a black fragment from the leggings that was supposed to be tested, and it was tested, but all of the clothes were so heavily soiled that the comparative testing that Alejandra was asked to conduct couldn't really happen just because everything was in such bad condition with the decomposition. So let me see. Oh, so the black fragment that from the leggings, we think she collected hairs, fibers, and other trace particles, 2 yellow stains from that black fragment using sterile swabs, but she could not complete that analysis because of the deteriorated condition of the clothing. So that was unfortunate. Let me see what else. During the cross-examination, Blair Burke questioned the scope of her analysis. She pointed out that the fragment comparisons were based on physical characteristics and they were not exhaustive. She, let me see, I talked about what fell naturally from the pool. Oh, she talked about the criminologist tried to lift prints from the pool with basically these print impressions that were left. They were made through, or she saw them through dust. So she was attempting to use an electrostatic dust print lifter and it was unsuccessful. She kind of explained the reasons. The pool was uneven, it was a thick surface, or the possibility that the impressions weren't even made in dust and that's why she couldn't collect them. But Blair Burke said, well, did detectives even give you a shoe to compare against these possible footprints? And she said no. The next witness was LAPD Detective William Roker, a 9-year vet assigned to the Robbery Homicide Investigative Support Unit who specializes in cellular record analysis. I did a whole chart on Twitter. I put this on lamag.com, but basically he detailed the trips to Santa Barbara and the fact that David's Tesla data and his cell phone data, they pinged certain towers. They were conclusive with one another and these trips. And there was a very, something that, again, we knew about this from the pretrial brief, but he did attempt to call Celeste. The call came through on April 24th around midnight. This was when she was reportedly already deceased. And it went he basically said it was unavailable. And the reasons being that, it could have gone straight to voicemail, it would have been on airplane mode, or it would have been turned off. But yeah. This call was made. So go ahead, read my articles, lamag.com, go to my Twitter, go to LAMag's Twitter, and I will have more details later this afternoon in a written story, and definitely another video by tomorrow.
Okay, so hold on, I'm just looking at something here. Just can I talk about this? All right, so I wanted to point out real quick because I heard somebody, I don't remember what I was watching, but they were talking about this update. Let me see if she did any other updates, but that one update we were doing with the timeline of his phone and stuff. Okay, no. So where is it? This one, I think it was this one. No. Where is it? I think it was this one right here. Okay. Excuse me. Where it says at 12:04 a.m., April 24th, Burke's phone placed an outgoing call to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And the call went directly to voicemail. And I heard somebody somewhere saying, well, oh, I thought it was, that must have been when he asked, like, where are you? Like, I thought it was right after. This is something different than what the court document says. So he called her, but in the court document, the text is when he asked where she was. So this is probably just more things to act like he's looking for her. Oh, let me act like I'm trying to call her. People do that for alibis, for to make it seem like, oh, I wasn't with her. I was just trying to look for her. Okay, so here's the court document, that part. Right here. Where it says, okay. It says at approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his residence. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10:10. Okay, so it was 10:10. At approximately 10:30, so 20 minutes after the Uber dropped her off, defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was. So that's different than the phone call at 12, okay? So this is something like right after it. So to just kind of show like, oh, she never made it. Where are you? Where are you? The people contend this was a part of a defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. I think he had it premeditated, called her over, had the tarp, something set up where he lured her to that spot, stabbed her, so there was not as big of a blood mess cleanup. And then now I'm thinking he may have put her body in the back seat and drove out to Santa Barbara. This is where I'm have two theories. Either he put her in the back seat then, or he kept her in the garage or wherever he killed her. I think it was in the garage, wherever. And then he drove out there to look for a spot where he could put her, threw out the evidence, looked for a spot, and then the second or third time, probably the second time, he put her in the back seat and was planning on maybe burying her. Right? But got freaked out, couldn't do it, and that's why there was blood in the back seat, right? So I don't know. I'm debating because I was just like, that's so risky either way to have her in the back seat, because if he gets pulled over, he's screwed. So I don't know, but I think at one point he had her in his back seat, planning on freaking finding a spot to maybe bury her. So I don't know if it was that night or the day before, or the day out, the next time he went out there. That's what I'm not sure. But wait, let me see. When did he order the shovel again? I have to look at yesterday's. I think that's when she had it all listed out. I want to see if it says it in here though. It says 11:30, approximately 11:30 is when he drove away from the home. April 24th, the next day he ordered a shovel. And then that's what I think happened. Now, okay, with these details. So he probably went out there originally looking for a spot he could bury her. He found that spot off of that remote spot, right? He's like, okay, that's where I'm going to do it. So he orders a shovel on the 24th. Then on May 1st, he goes out there. Or wait, when was the next time he went out there? Hold on. May 8th. Wait, that doesn't make sense then. I thought they said May 1st. Because by May 5th, they think he was already dismembered her, because he had ordered the chew chainsaws, body bags, heavy duty laundry bags, blue inflatable pool. But maybe maybe he ordered a shovel because he was like, maybe I'll try to still bury her, and chickened out. It's like, that's not going to work right now. And he just put it off, kept her in the car, tried to put it off. Then he was just probably so busy touring and all this stuff. He kept putting it off, and it got him caught. Thank God. So yeah. Because it looks like May 1st, he ordered the 2 chainsaws to his home. May 5th, he ordered the body bag, heavy duty laundry bags, and blue inflatable pool. He made these purchases under a fake name, Victoria Mendez, which that wasn't what we heard. It sounds like he ordered the burn cage under Victoria Mendez. From these court proceedings, it shows that he ordered those under Travion Davis. At least the notes people took. Oh no, because the first day transcripts too have said that. Yeah, it said he ordered it under Travion Davis, and he ordered the burn cage under Victoria Mendez. So I don't know. Maybe they just kind of generalized it. He did order some of the fake purchases under Victoria, right? And then May 8th, he returned to Santa Barbara. And then May 31st, he returned again to Santa Barbara. I don't know, man. Excuse me. So maybe he did take her that night. And he already had a shovel, maybe. But why did he order a shovel? Maybe he already had a shovel. He took it and it got ruined trying to dig. And he chickened. I don't know. Who knows? And then he ordered another one. These are all theories, speculation. And the crazy thing is because there's no videos in the courtroom and people can't, they just have to try to take notes and stuff. There's gonna be more speculation because we don't have all the facts. Okay, so let me put this down and let's, yeah, I think he just tried to put it off and he just waited too long. But like I said, I'm glad because he got caught. He got caught. Oh, come on. I always go by my shovel at midnight. Yeah. But wait, why are you saying, oh, come on? Did I say anything about, no, I think he did buy the shovel for that purpose. When did he buy the shovel though? Hold on. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's see what else we got here. I know we have, I do want to watch that, whatchamacallit, hold on, interview with Steve, which we'll get to in a minute, but let me do this first. Let's see Sloan's updates from today. So the first one from today would be this one right here. Or this is the, okay, this is what I'll say. This is the first one that I have played all these on my live. This is the first one I haven't played. So some of these might be from 2. Yeah, these 3 were going to be from day 2, and then you'll see then the 4th one will be day 4. But I want to play it because I have not played it yet, and I want to see, and people pick up different things than others, so he may have some information. So this one will be from day 2. They'll be short though. Oh, hold on.
Crazy updates for you guys right now. I'm going to start with the craziest stuff and then we'll go backwards. So this woman named Lauren took the stand. She is a criminalist and she's the one who went to David's home on Doheny Drive to go and inspect the garage. Let's just start off with the pool. So yesterday I told you guys that we didn't have any information about the pool. Well, today we did. So the blue inflatable pool that was supposedly blown up and put in the garage, and David unalived Celeste there to collect the blood, it was found. It was found by Lauren and her team, and it was crumpled up and in a ball. Well, they undid the inflatable pool, and they did find some sign of blood there, but guess what they found inside the inflatable pool? A dryer sheet. So there was a dryer sheet inside the inflatable pool, which suggests that David must have used the pool to unalive Celeste, then stuck it in a washer and dryer to clean it. And it seems like the part in the very middle where it was crumpled up didn't actually get cleaned, and that is how the pool had blood on it. So it's crazy to actually know what had happened to the pool. There were also so many stains in the garage. Let's just talk about the garage in general. So there were stains all around. There were stains near this kind of gym area. There were also cuts inside of the floor mat. So imagine a garage with brick flooring and black mats all on top of it. So they found stains all over the mats and they found signs of blood, but then they pulled up the flooring and there was so much blood that was stained on the floor of the bricks. You could tell that a crime was committed there. Actually, I have a picture of what I drew. So you can see here's this rowing machine that also had blood on it. there was this pole just kind of on the ground, and then there's just this huge bright blue spot where all...
I don't understand why. That's another thing SF wasn't true about. He said there was no, they didn't do testing. They did do testing. They did do Blue Star, it looks like, or luminol testing. And they did find a blood, like an area that the crime took place. He said that they didn't do any testing for blood and that there was no big blood anywhere. So that's another thing. So now we have Neo driving that he was wrong about. And then this. He had us to believe this whole time that they didn't do any testing in the house, at the house. There was no big blood stains. What? I don't know. It makes me upset because I don't know, but
of the blood must have been. Also a black trash bag that was found, and within this trash bag there was a lot of stuff in it. They kept undoing it to find like these wipes, kind of like Clorox wipes, but it were all stained kind of like this brown yellow color. We could see it in the images, so it looks like he had used a whole bunch of wipes trying to clean up the blood and cover it up.
no, I know that would have been done like just from a small piece of that. But he said they did not find blood. He said they didn't test for blood. The luminol just tests for blood. He said they did not do it. I'll find that clip. I was going to have that ready for the live. I'll try to find it again. I have it somewhere in my files. But he had said they did not do that testing. And there was no big crime scene blood because he had access to that house. He 100% said that. Not the specific testing, that they do the basic testing to see if it's blood, and then they could take maybe just a little piece of that to see if it's, you know, Celeste or not. But they just do the basic, ooh, was there blood here? Was there blood there? Was there a cleanup? So I don't know. I'm a little bit confused. Like, did he not know, or?
They're also, she said that bag was so bright with luminescent that she stopped actually even spraying it with luminescent and just collected it in general because there was so much blood actually on it. There were also these green tarps that were found, and in the images that I could see online, you could literally, or on the screen, you could literally see the red stains on the green tarps. She said that was collected for testing as well. Okay guys, so I have some
Okay. So
I want to go back to Chelsea in the car because Chelsea's the one that got to look at the car, and there were a few different swabs that were taken. Now, Chelsea did confirm that the swabs did end up matching the DNA of Celeste. So we do have confirmation that in the frunk, there was swabs that matched Celeste. But what I found really interesting, there's two things. I want to talk about the Photoshop, but I also want to talk about the rear third row, because when we saw photos of the rear third row, it was bright blue. It was so blue. Clearly there was some blood in the third row. It was never clarified if it was Celeste's blood in the third row or what had happened, but from my assumption, like watching this case, I would assume that her body was placed in the third row of the trunk of the Tesla, like in the third row of the seats before it was moved to the frunk. I'm saying this because if you saw the images, you would see in the back third row, again, there's so much blue light that it seems like Celeste had to be there at some point, or at least someone else's blood. Now, David's team was trying to hone in on the Photoshop of it all. So they're claiming that these photos have been enhanced to show the luminescent, and they're right, the photos have been enhanced, but it is standard protocol that the lab typically takes these photos, and you know, if you see the blue light in person, it's a lot more blue than it would show up on camera, so they do enhance the photos. But it almost seemed like David's team was trying to suggest that her team had photoshopped these images to make him look more guilty or to make it look like there was more blood. She quickly clarified that no, this is standard protocol. These images are only enhanced so they look like what they looked like in person. That's what's really interesting here, is that David's team tries to find these ways to make the evidence seem like it was less credible. Like earlier on, trying to ask, oh, did you test the ID that was found in Santa Barbara, Celeste's ID? And of course they're not. They're testing things that need to be tested, but things that don't need to be tested, they're not. Like, for example, they asked her, did you guys test the outside of the vehicle? Well, they tested one part of the vehicle, like where the trunk is, to see, like, you know, when you open up a trunk, because there was some disruption there. So they did test that area, and it did actually come back positive with blood. So there was all these different parts of the Tesla. There were two portions in the trunk. There was the trunk part where you lift up. There was the back seat, the third row in that corner. And of course, the frunk was bright blue with blood. Interesting how David's team is trying to, like, question these people and almost their intelligence, but they're all so smart and they're able to shut Blairberg's team down right away. I want to go back to Chelsea in the car. So we've had two more witnesses take the stand. I want to talk about Sean Roscoe. He's an officer in the Santa Barbara area. So on January 7th, 2026 at 1:40 p.m., he was called to a Highway 154, because a Caltrans employee had found Celeste's ID. They didn't find anything else, but pretty much it's a highway, there's some dirt road, and then there's some grass. And it looks like the ID was thrown into the grass, kind of where this embankment is. As soon as he got the ID, he realized who Celeste was, because the Caltrans person actually Googled her name to see if she was part of the area. They did show her ID and some redacted parts, and essentially he picked it up and he also marked the coordinates where it was. He ended up taking it to the office, putting it into evidence, and then some LA investigators came up and met with him to talk about it. I tried to kind of draw like where his vehicle was, the highway, and where it was, but it is such a mess. What's interesting about Sean's bit is that, like, when David's attorneys, Blair Burke, her group, came up and started questioning him, it's almost like they tried to discredit him finding the ID. They had him list out the coordinates, and then they decided to pull up the coordinates and a screenshot. What was interesting, and I don't know if they know this, so maybe Blair Burke's team look into this, but the coordinates that you gave us, it was 34.503748, comma, -119.810074. That's where the ID was found. But then when they showed their screenshot, the numbers were not the same. Like, even the girl next to me, I was like, wait, the coordinates aren't the same. So she was trying to make this point that he didn't actually like pin the location of where it was found, that he pinned the highway. And they also questioned, like, okay, did the Caltrans worker pick it up with his hands? Did you pick it up with your hands? It almost seems like they're trying to rule out the idea that like any of David's DNA could be on the ID. There's also talks of like rain and weather possibly bringing the ID to this location. How would the ID just randomly end up in Santa Barbara? Like a storm just brought it there? So that was the officer that found it, and it seemed like Blair Burke was trying to discredit him finding the ID. They even actually put up the ID without the redacted portions, which is not cool because we're talking about a minor here. I want to give you guys some updates about the next witness. Her name is Chelsea. She's the criminalist, and she's the one who actually got to the Tesla after it, was towed away from the tow yard and brought into the investigator's office. And I saw some really disturbing pictures of the Tesla and how it looked. So next video. So we've had two more witnesses. Hey guys, so I'm outside the courthouse right now for day 3 in the David trial, and I wanted to do a quick recap of what has happened so far. So this is a preliminary hearing to see if the judge feels like there's enough evidence to take this to trial and charge David with these crimes. So the prosecutor, Beth Silverman, has to prove to the judge that she's got enough info on David to lock him up, and I feel like she does. But I want to go through some of the witnesses that she has called forward. First, it was Deputy Juan Gonzalez. He was the officer who went to David's home to do a welfare check whenever Celeste was reported missing, and her parents believed that she was in his home, or at least in his care. Then we had Detective Josh Byers take the stand. He's the lead investigator. That is when we went through those graphic, disturbing photos of Celeste in the bag and opening up the bags and seeing how David left her to essentially rot. I mean, I hope this guy rots in prison for the rest of his life. Then we had Benjamin Greger, the guy who I've labeled sketchy in my opinion. He's the accountant who's been working with Colleen Burke, who is David's mother, and something about their relationship seems sketchy. I don't understand why he's still making so much money from David's mom. Then we had, I don't know if it's Louis or Louis Bloom. He worked at Interscope, or he's really high up at Interscope, and he spoke about like handling the contracts and ultimately terminating David. I still don't really understand why he took the stand, unless it was to prove how much money David has made, because they did talk about how much he could have made at Interscope, which could have been like over $20 million. Thank God that he didn't. Then we had Officer Sean Bonresto. He took the stand. He's the one who was in Santa Barbara and found Celeste's ID on the highway. Crazy that David's lawyers were trying to like question him, like, how did this guy find the ID? Like, what's he looking on the side of the highway for? The question isn't like, how did the officer find it? It's like, why did it end up in Santa Barbara? Then we had two of my favorites so far, the criminalists. So these are the people who look at the crime scenes and get all the evidence and the DNA. We had Chelsea Murillo take the stand. She's the one who went through the Tesla, tested the Tesla. We learned yesterday there was a ton of blood that showed up in the luminescence. We also learned that there was a lot of blood that showed up in the third row back seat. I still don't understand what that means. Did he put Celeste's body in the back seat? And then we've got Lauren Wallace. She's the one who went to David's residence and found all the blood all in the garage, found the inflatable pool. found the tarps with the blood stains, found the Tesla charger with blood on it. So she actually is still, she's going to start off today. There's cross-examination right now, and it seems like David's team's angle is to be like, oh, did you guys wear gloves? Oh, why did you guys move the inflatable pool around? Well, they had to move these things around so you can see the stains and take pictures of it. So they really don't seem like they have a case, in my opinion. Hey guys, so I'm outside the courthouse right now for date. So in 15 minutes, I'll find out if this ticket will get me into the courtroom today. Just to explain to you guys, there's a lottery system, so there's 10 seats for the public, and it's all by lottery. So there's a little raffle that happens inside, and if your number is called, you get to get in. Yesterday, I was able to get in because I put myself on some list. I'm not technically media, but I got standby seat 4, which ultimately got me into the courtroom, so I'm not mad at it, but this is the ticket. I'll be updating you guys on my Instagram story if I get in, because I can't like post when I'm actually in the courtroom. Once we get our tickets, we go right up to the 9th floor and session begins. And today they're going to be kicking off with Lauren Wallace. She's currently on cross-examination. Seems like David's team, so Lauren is the criminalist who went to the mansion and looked in the garage and found evidence that Celeste was killed there. Seems like David's team is trying to question her protocol, I guess, as far as her work goes, like asking, was she wearing gloves and things like that, were they masked up? All these different factors to try to, I guess, discredit the DNA results, like try to discredit any testing that comes from this. But I mean, it sounded like Lauren did everything according to the book, so it's gonna be hard for David's team to find a slip up when it comes to these investigators. I'll be updating you guys if I get in. So in 15 minutes, I'll find out if this
Did I already do that? Is this the one I just watched, right?
Let's talk about what else Lisa examined, because she got...
Which one did I just play? Yeah, this is the one where...
Let's talk about what else Lisa examined, because she got all of Celeste's clothing. So, like I said, those blue pieces from the pool in my last video, those blue pieces from the pool were actually found in the leggings. So the leggings were brought to her. She was not able to test like any of these things because they were so soiled. She said they were soaking wet. They smelled really badly. She wanted to test them, but you just couldn't because it's deteriorating. It does look like, you guys may remember that we saw the kneecap, Celeste's kneecap, because that's where he had cut her legs, like right here. It looks like he did it with her leggings on, because the leggings were like cut in half as well, torn at the legs. So I'm assuming he cut off her legs with the leggings on. We also got some Skechers socks. They were really, everything is like black, and then it almost looks like brown, but you know when you bleach something black and it's like a light pale brown? That's how everything kind of looked. We had Skechers socks that were recovered. There's a Forever 21 tube top. There was a Victoria's Secret thong, and it all kind of looked like this. I just tried to draw it. Thong that was recovered, and then there were the leggings. The leggings were so badly deteriorated that she could not actually even tell what the brand was at all. So that is what Lisa had to say, essentially going through what the clothing looked like. She found pieces of like foam, fiber, glass. There were some yellow stains that she had found within the victim's clothing, and she was testing all of that. Let's talk about what else Lisa... Now let's talk about Detective William Roker. So he's an LAPD detective, but he is the phones guy. So he understands how the phones work, how the Teslas work, and how we're tracked at all times. Because as you guys know, like my phone's active right now, I'm probably pinging to the courthouse if you were to go and track it. Now, what was really interesting about what he had to share was that he gave us these dates and these trips to Santa Barbara. So we heard like 6 months ago that officers were interested in this trip that David took to Santa Barbara. I didn't realize it was like multiple trips. So let me go ahead and get to that page. All my notes are crazy. It's literally in like a different language. Actually, and they even gave us his phone number in there. I believe it's 346-544. Am I allowed to say it? I don't know. But yeah, they did give us the number, his phone number. So on April 23rd, 2025, there was some movement. He had left around 11:31 p.m. Remember, April 23rd is the day that he unalived Celeste. So he left his home from Doheny Place at 11:31, and he traveled all the way up to Santa Barbara. And then he was there up until about like 4 a.m., 4:03 a.m., and then he headed home to Doheny. He got there at 7:06 a.m. So he was gone that night from 11:31 till 7 the next morning, and I'm assuming he took her body out to Santa Barbara, and I don't know what he did there, because now we know that he did dismember her in the garage. So then there was another date where he went back to that same area again on May 8th at 8 p.m. He headed right back up to the same area, and he actually went right by where the ID was dropped off in Santa Barbara. So he kind of visited that spot, and then he came back that night at like 1:01 a.m. is what, I know 1:01 a.m. is whenever he was in Santa Barbara. Then he got home later on. Then we've got May 31st is another date that he went up there. He left at like 1:25 p.m. and he hung around the area until 5:51 p.m. His car then started traveling back to Doheny at 6 p.m. and then he got home that evening. So why did he go to the Santa Barbara area on April 23rd, May 8th, and May 31st? It's just kind of odd. And it was both his vehicle and his car. David's attorneys were trying to like make sure that Silverman wasn't saying that it was David traveling up there. It was just his car and his Tesla, because they're going to try to create the narrative that like David didn't do it. Someone just happened to have access to his mansion, happened to have access to his phone, happened to have access to his car, happened to pretty much be David and do.
He keeps saying his car and his car. He's meaning to say his car and his phone. I misspeak all the time. But yeah, both of them. But of course, that's their job. That's the lawyer's job. Their job is to create doubt. She wouldn't be doing her job if she didn't create doubt. It is her job. But it's kind of interesting to see like people will actually be mad at the lawyer for like, representing a murderer, but that's actually their job. They have to do a good job. They have to give them, the best representation, or they could appeal and stuff. So it's their job. So I mean, you can't really blame her. But yeah,
Everything in this crime and that he didn't commit it. I'm not buying it. What do you guys think? That angle's not going to work. Now let's.
Okay, so there's a few more videos, but to break this up a little bit, so I'm not just playing video after video, I'm gonna actually.
Okay, so I'm
gonna pause this so we know this is the one we're picking up on, but let's kind of break it up a little bit. So I already watched this. Let me get out of some of this stuff. I already have those pulled up somewhere else. Okay, so I wanted to play a little part of Down the Rabbit Hole stream where she brings on SF Investigates and he explains what happened in court today. I just want to play a part. I'm not going to play the whole interview, but I just want to play a part of it where he explains it, and then I think he just sticks around. And all right, hold on 1 second.
Someone other than.
Let me find the part where she brings him on. All right, just where he explains it, because you know how we heard about the person that, first of all, he explains about the person that was live streaming, transcribing to Annie Louise from 10 to Life had her team member in there with a laptop on Google Docs, live streaming her the information, and Annie was basically live streaming it live to her channel, and they got caught. It was yesterday, and then that same team member got in today, and the judge basically called her out, made her leave the courtroom. But SF also got kicked out too. Okay, so hold on.
You don't. I've been out there. Yeah.
I just want to make sure this is where. Hold on. I want to make sure this is where he first comes on. 1 second, guys. And I'll just play. Okay, I'm going to pull that up. But here is the hold on 1 second. The Reddit. Oh, I just want to put this real quick before I start that. Reddit says, David showing a school photo of Celeste is like someone showing this photo of David. If the roles were reversed, makes no sense. You guys look young, and I don't know. That's all right, hold on 1 second. Where's that post? I want to show you that post really quick. Wait a minute. Here, I'll look for it while I play this part, because I already watched this. Okay, here we go. This is him coming up on her live stream explaining it on Down the Rabbit Hole's live stream. Okay. All right. So let me do it like this real quick. All right, here we go.
If you see a tire shredded on the ground,
Steve, did you hear about well, hell, you were there. We were just talking about the post that Lauren Conlon made, and we were talking about the YouTuber, the transmitting in the Google Doc. Well, we found out who it was.
Oh yeah. They called her out in the court. They made her come up in front of the court.
What?
Said, so this is how it went down. So okay, so first we all knew this was going to happen, because when they were doing the lottery, they were telling the people that were new age media or whatever, they probably weren't going to be able to have their laptops today, because there was an incident yesterday, and then word had leaked out who, kind of like who it was, but nobody knew the details. But everybody was just like, shit, we're not gonna be able to have our laptops, and it was gonna be like, and then last minute decision. So I was like standby number 7. I ended up getting in, and then as soon as they sat the court, judge said, okay, I have an issue I need to address. And then she started calling like bailiffs over, and to be like ready. And I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be big. And so she said, yesterday I found out, she's like, I've been very clear about the rules of the court, as far as the court's not allowing any transmission. She didn't say it's because of the child porn, but at the beginning, before the trial started, that's what she blamed it on. But she's like, it's on the door, it's posted on the court, the entrance to the courtroom, the rules of the court about transmission, and nobody's supposed to have any live like signal to get out, and or be transmitting. They were allowed to type and everything. And she's like, so yesterday she called the girl over who's the one who does the lottery thing and is responsible for seating everybody, and said, can you read what you received yesterday? And she had an email in her hand. She said, at 3:47, we received an anonymous email that said, FYI, somebody's transmitting live from your court, at like 3:40 and she said, and they said it's being done by a Google Doc that's updating real time, because you can turn, on Google Docs. I've used this before actually. You can go in and you can put in transcribe, and it'll type everything that you're saying or that it hears anybody else saying. So you have that on, and it's just like fucking live transcribing.
Oh my god! Wait. So it's like, it's not like you're writing your own notes. You're not writing your own. Yes. Can you hear me? You're not writing your own notes, right?
Oh, I can't hear you if you're talking.
Okay. Keep talking.
Can you hear me? You hear me? Okay. So, but at this point, it doesn't, we're like, okay, so they're saying that this happened, and, but downstairs, word was kind of getting around, like who it was. Everybody's like, that's the girl. And she got drawn like second in the lottery, right? And everybody's like, oh shit. So then the judge goes, and it goes on this whole thing, and it goes to the bailiff. It goes, bailiff, can you point out who it was that was doing this? And the bailiff walks over and points at this girl in the second row. And she's like, can you stand up? And the girl stands up, and it's this girl that works with Annie Elise. And she's like, come in front of the court. And so she stood there, and she... my hearing's really bad, so I didn't hear everything that she heard, even though she was like right next to me. She's really soft-spoken. You could tell she was shook, but I could tell she was being very. She's like, I accept responsibility. She did. And the judge, I have to say, the judge was like, after she accepted responsibility, she's like, normally I would remove you for the rest of the hearings. She's like, but I'm just going to remove you for today. And she's like, I think that's the right thing to do, considering I was very clear about it. Da da da. And she was.
That's actually very gracious to just be like, you could still come in tomorrow. I'm just going to remove you today for going in there and live transmitting the stuff. I mean, that's pretty nice. So she could still have the opportunity to get in tomorrow. He'll go on to explain how he got kicked out too.
She accepted it. She didn't fight back. But right before, or then right then, she had said right before she started the speech, she goes to Beth, I understand there's a couple things that you want to put on the record, and so I thought it was about this, and then she started messaging like, is there anything you want to put on the record? Beth's like, not on this issue. I was like, uh-oh. And so they threw her out of the court. They had a bail take her out, go collect her things, and then so then she goes, I could not believe this. I could not fucking believe what I heard. She goes, Your Honor, there was a lady outside that I saw in the back row here yesterday, and she is telling people that my questions were bad yesterday, and that saying mean things about how I'm phrasing questions. She's like, and I just don't think that's not right. I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, you're actually trying to have somebody that's not in the courtroom, like, banned from the courtroom because you don't like what they said, or what they're saying to you. And the judge was like, well, are they in here right now? And she's like, I don't see her, but she was outside. And then I just walked away from her. And judge was like, okay. Like, big girl, okay. And then she goes, is there another issue? And she goes, yes. That man. And she's like, and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you all. I'll be collecting my shit. And so I was like, she's like, I was like, fuck, here we go. And she goes, but she fucking, this pissed me off. She lied about me, and she lied big time. She goes, he should not be in here. He was a witness of the grand jury, and he failed to appear at the grand jury. And I'm like, what in the fuck? Now, if you guys remember, there's this person, all of this was a female, that failed to appear. So now I know there's people that are going to think that I'm the person that failed to appear. I never failed to appear. I fucking appeared twice in front of the grand jury. And which, by the way, I just want to make this really clear because this is going to become an issue, I know. She also said that I broke the law. And she said that, no, keep in mind, all the press, this is on the record, and all the press is there, right? She's like, and he broke the law, and I'm having a warrant issued for his arrest for talking about the case when he was a witness to the grand jury. So, first of all, and even Mark Garagos, who I do not get along with, got on record on TV and talked about this and said, this is bullshit what she did. There is no law against a witness talking about the grand jury or even what they testified to the grand jury. You just cannot talk about anything you learned from the grand jury that you didn't already know. The only people that are sworn to secrecy in the grand jury are the fucking grand jurors, not the witnesses. It does not apply to the witnesses. There is case law from the Attorney General of California. It goes all the way back to like 1987. Very, very clear on this. But I truly think that she maybe is just not sharp enough of a lawyer that she might not know the law, but she's wrong about that. So she said so when I was subpoenaed, and now she's the one who let it out of the bag that I was a witness, right? She said it in front of everybody in a public courtroom. When I was first subpoenaed, they showed up at my door at like 6:15 in the morning. Two armed DA detectives with DA, jackets on, and they're like, and they were pretty cool. They weren't bad. I was just woke up. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And they're like, and I was like, they didn't even tell me what it was about. And then I'm like, oh, so they came back like 5 minutes later, and the guy's like, listen, Beth Silverman wants me to remind you, you are never allowed to talk about this case again in the press ever, because now you've been subpoenaed for the grand jury. You can't say a word. It's against the law. And at that time, I was like, fuck, is that the law? And so I came out with a tweet right away saying, hey, due to legal circumstances, I can't talk about the case anymore. But then I researched the law, and I talked to a couple attorneys, and they're like, that's a fucking lie. If she told you that, that's a lie. So she used this grand jury subpoena as a way to shut me up, because she made it very, very fucking clear to me. She's like, we don't want you investigating case. We don't want you telling people that we missed the burn cage, that we missed the 4 terabyte hard drive, that we missed the chainsaw, and you don't need to be talking about, Celeste's case, period. So you've been subpoenaed for the grand jury. You're never allowed to talk about it again, even with your client. That's what.
Now, as much as I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he has said about this case that is coming out to be wrong, and he put like, he made a lot of statement like about the Neo. He said, I'll find those clips about how he knew for 100% who was driving, and then we see what he was going by, and it was a blurry video that you can't see crap. So I just wish he would have labeled it. He would have said, well, I think it may be him. You could see little squares of red, but we can't really see who it was. But he said he could 100%. It was, and then he insinuated it was Neo. And he even came out after and posted it and saying, look, you could see the red, saying, because he's saying that Neo was wearing that red jersey, which he wasn't. So I didn't agree with that. Now that we see that they did use luminol, Blue Star, they did test for blood at the house, and they did find blood at the house. And so I don't know, like, what I'm saying, as much as I don't agree with a lot that he said, I can admit that it was wrong, because regardless, there's free speech, and regardless of all that, people could have their, they could make up their mind if they want to use him as a credible source or not. They could just use their own opinion, and that's up to whoever wants. He's allowed to, it's free speech. He's allowed to talk. You know what I'm saying? So regardless of how I feel about him and how I feel about his credibility, I don't think Beth has no right to say, oh, you can't talk about it. That I agree. Like, she doesn't. Like, he should be allowed to talk about it, as all of us are. Yeah, there's certain things he has to be careful because the grand jury, he's a grand jury witness, but he's explaining that. So regardless of all that, he's still a person that has free speech, and he should be allowed. So I don't agree with her saying that. I get her frustration with him though, but that's like a personal thing. And you know what I'm saying? I don't think it should be come up in court, but I totally get it, because I have the same frustrations. But as far as her making it into a legal thing, I get it. I get it. She shouldn't. But I also get her opinion though. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Hopefully my words came out the way I meant them to come out. But
she told me, I'm like, okay, you're using this as a weapon. And so then when I go back the second time,
that's true. That's true.
I was told to, I don't want to talk about, certain things that were said inside the grand jury room. So I'll say that's, I've disclosed I was given a handwritten note after my second one to appear for a order to show cause hearing, which was secret, had no case number or anything. And I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm showing up for your secret off the books hearing. So the only way I had to protect myself was to send a picture of the note out to the press and say, hey, I'm being told to show up for this. I want the press to know about it. And I didn't show up, and I wrote the judge a very long, detailed letter explaining why I would not be there, because I was not subpoenaed. I wasn't given a case number. I wasn't told what the order to show cause was about. In other words, what rule of the court or what I'd violated. How can I defend myself when I have no idea against what? it's a secret hearing, and I was very detailed about it, and I had it delivered by FedEx, signed for the whole fucking thing, and then so she so what happened was some press did show up for that hearing, and I know that the LA Times and New York Post and TMZ, even though I hate them, they were there, and that's when the deal. That's how they got the shit with Rob Morgenrath in the hallway. They were there for my hearing. And Rob happened to be there testifying because she was going to have my punishment hearing right after the testimony with Rob. So anyway, so then, which the other thing she said, so that was a lie. There's no warrant for my arrest. I did not fail to appear for the grand jury. I testified twice in front of the grand jury. And I was told I was not a witness in this case. I was told that my information was garbage, and I was not subpoenaed for this or anything. And if you're not subpoenaed, you're allowed to show up as gallery if you're not expected to be a witness. And I was told I'm not going to be a witness. I'm going to be in jail. That's what I was told. So, and then the last thing she said, which really pissed me off, is she said, and to the judge, keep in mind, the judge in front of everybody, she goes, and he's witness tampering. He went up to Celeste's family attorney and tried to, and who he's not allowed to talk to witnesses. Never been told this before. I'm an investigator. That's what I fucking do. Talk to witnesses. He's tried to approach witnesses, and I was like, that's a lie. And so the judge said, judge was really kind. Judge was confused, clearly confused. I was standing there in front of the court, and she said, I don't want to, nothing about the grand jury. She's like, Mr. Fisher, I'm sorry, like a grand jury, the special judge for the grand jury would have to hear this. I'm like, Your Honor, I totally respect the court's decision. I will leave voluntarily. I don't want to take away from the proceedings. Then I started walking away, and Beth Silverman said something again, I guess, and then the bailiff's like, you pointed me at, like, look at the judge, and I looked, and she's talking, so I go back in front. I'm like, I'm sorry, and she's like, and that's when Beth said something again about like tampering with a witness, and I said, can I put something on the record, like officially put something on the record? And she's like, if you're going to put something on the record, I don't want it to be about the grand jury. Is it about the grand jury? I said, it's not about the grand jury. I said, I want to make it clear because I've been accused of this, but I want to put on the record that I never approached Celeste's family's attorney. I never knew who he was. I said, I was in the hallway. I was approached by that attorney. He came over. He talked to me about certain things. And that's when Beth said, and he stood up. And he's like, Your Honor, I want to jump in. He goes, I am the one who approached Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher, he did not approach me. He said, I told him who I was. Mr. Fisher asked how the family was doing, how they're holding, if they were holding in there. And he said, and that was the extent of our conversation before Beth Silverman stormed up and took me away and said, you can't talk to him. He's a grand juror.
Yeah, maybe I should hold my opinion because we're only hearing one side of it, I guess. I guess when we see the transcripts. So I do. I mean, I have faith in Beth, and I think we're going to get him put away. I just wish there wasn't all this other drama that's involved, you know? Yeah, because I mean, yeah, I don't know.
So when I said, I want to put this on the record, when I said I want to put this on the record, I never approached them. He approached me. I looked right at Beth Silverman, and she turned to him and said, what the fuck? Like that. So she accused me of all this without even asking him. She just assumed that I violated some laws of whatever she's got in her head, tiny little head. And she assumed that. She never even asked him. So she was like, and then I could tell she was furious with him as I was leaving the courtroom, you know. And but you know, she gets her feelings hurt by a woman saying that she didn't think her questions were that good, and she goes to the judge. I mean, what this is. I take back what I said the other day. The right person is prosecuting this case. If she gets her feelings hurt like that, is not the right person. You know, we need someone that's going to be like,
he's a little more thick-skinned. So I don't know.
Steve, can you hear me?
basically how it
Yeah. So I just wanted you guys to hear that. Yeah, I mean, oh shoot, wrong thing. Here we go. I don't know. No, I don't think he's only kept it in the media. We were all on it. This case never lost interest. Reddit kept it going too. No, this was just something we were all like, all of us creators. So no, I disagree about him keeping it in the media. We all did. All of us creators were on it. But yeah, you guys know how I feel about him. I won't keep saying it, but it's coming that some of the stuff I was right. Like is on some of this stuff that it was wrong information. Anyway, all right, so let's watch. I need to get my little protein ball. I'm starting to get like shaky. Hold on. Let me see what else is going on here. We'll play something else and I'll run down and get it. Let me find another like video to play while I run down. How long are these videos? Hold on. Let me see. Because Trapmore Ross, Traplore Ross, I always call him Trapmore, on his Instagram. I'm trying to figure out which ones are new. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see if it has a date on it. One day ago. Okay, hold on. Let me find one that's from today. If any of them are. I'm going to try to play something. So I can run down and get my protein bar. I'm hungry. So that's from today. And this is from today. All right. Let me play one of these while I run down and get protein bar because I don't want to get like too bad shaky. I hate that I get that way sometimes if I don't have like, I don't know, sugar. I don't know if it's sugar. No, not just something to eat for a while. I get like shaky. I hate it. Okay. So let me play this. Let's play this. And it might end before I come back. Hope it doesn't. I'm just going to run down and get that.
It is a match, people. They have matched the blue plastic fibers that were found inside Celeste's wounds where her limbs were cut off. That is a perfect match to the blue kiddie pool that was found in David's garage. It feels like it's over with at this point. They showed images of the blue plastic that were taken out of her body, and it was a perfect match. It was like two puzzle pieces coming together perfectly, and there's even like a pattern on the kiddie pool that was apparently used as, you know, like a basin to allegedly use a chainsaw to sever her limbs, to dismember her. It's just so chilling. It was a perfect match. The two pieces lined up like a puzzle piece, the parts from her body, the parts from the pool that was found in his garage. It was a perfect match. I don't know how on earth they're going to beat this. Right now, the DA is still questioning basically somebody who's a criminalist. I don't know what David's defense are going to say to this. I don't think there is any possible defense to this. It's a perfect match, perfect puzzle piece. He's looking cooked. It is a match, people. They have matched the blue plastic fibers that were found inside Celeste's wounds where her limbs were cut off. That is a perfect match to the blue kiddie pool that was found in David's garage. It feels like it's over with at this point. They showed images of the blue plastic that were taken out of her body, and it was a perfect match. It was like two puzzle pieces coming together perfectly, and there's even like a pattern on the kiddie pool that was apparently used as, you know, like a basin to allegedly use a chainsaw to sever her limbs, to dismember her. It's just so chilling. It was a perfect match. The two pieces lined up like a puzzle piece, the parts from her body, the parts from the pool that was found in his garage. It was a perfect match. I don't know how on earth they're going to beat this. Right now, the DA is still questioning basically somebody who's a criminalist. I don't know what David's defense are going to say to this. I don't think there is any possible defense to this. It's a perfect match, perfect puzzle piece. He's looking cooked.
I couldn't find my normal protein bar. The one that doesn't have as much sugar in it. So I think I'm out of them. So I just got this. Look, I'm like shaking. I hate that. I don't know why I get like that. I guess, I mean, they call it hypoglycemic, I guess, but okay. Zeke's right here. He's good. Whoever was asking about Zeke. Let me see if there's anything else. Whew. It doesn't look like there's any other updates. Let's finish these ones from, oh, that's what I could have played. Let's finish the ones from this, and then I don't know. I'm tempted to, since there really isn't much. Well, let me edit this really quick. I'm put rounded. I like a rounded edge to, I might work on my Cider's case stuff. I might, just play these and see if there's any new updates. And what I could do is maybe this weekend is that clear piece that put together every day compilation of all the updates in a like nice organized thing. Maybe this weekend I'll go through all of the days that we, all the days together and kind of do it that way. And then if I do a live tomorrow, I'll go through the stuff I missed today. But let's see what
Had 3 people take the stand so far today, and we had Lauren Wallace finish up. We didn't really get too much from her. Essentially, David's team was trying to cross-examine her and to see if they were like misplacing items within the home. Essentially, she wrapped up very quickly. But then we got to Lisa. Lisa is an LAPD trace criminalist. She's a level 3, and she's the one who actually got the inflatable pool and started testing the pool. And she also got a bunch of things from the medical examiner's office. But let's kick it off with the pool. So she got the pool, and what she did was that the medical examiner's office sent her fragments that were taken from Celeste's body. Remember those little blue pieces? I thought it was pieces of a chainsaw, but it was pieces of the pool. And what she was able to do, what Lisa was able to do, was that she took these pieces, these microscopic pieces, I'm talking about like half of a centimeter small, and she was able to find the parts where they came from the pool. So she took out the whole pool, and she was able to find these microscopic tears that I guess like ripped in and got into Celeste's body and into her clothes, and actually specifically the leggings. She said she found a lot of the pieces of blue in the leggings, and she was able to take those little tiny pieces with a microscope and fit them into the pool. So you can see that these were original pieces, and they were like kind of odd shapes. So it's crazy that she like found these microscopic pieces that were like on Celeste's body, but then also were in the garage at some point part of this pool, kind of setting up that like absolutely David did this in the house, because how would these little fragments end up in Celeste's body? Okay, so we've had 3 people take the stand so far today, and we had Lauren Wallace finish up. We didn't really get too much from her. Essentially, David's team was trying to cross-examine her and to see if they were like misplacing items within the home. Essentially, she wrapped up very quickly. But then we got to Lisa. Lisa is an LAPD trace criminalist. She's a level 3, and she's the one who actually got the inflatable pool and started testing the pool. And she also got a bunch of things from the medical examiner's office. But let's kick it off with the pool. So she got the pool, and what she did was that the medical examiner's office sent her fragments that were taken from Celeste's body. Remember those little blue pieces? I thought it was pieces of a chainsaw, but it was pieces of the pool. And what she was able to do, what Lisa was able to do, was that she took these pieces, these microscopic pieces, I'm talking about like half of a centimeter small, and she was able to find the parts where they came from the pool. So she took out the whole pool, and she was able to find these microscopic tears that I guess like ripped in and got into Celeste's body and into her clothes, and actually specifically the leggings. She said she found a lot of the pieces of blue in the leggings, and she was able to take those little tiny pieces with a microscope and fit them into the pool. So you can see that these were original pieces, and they were like kind of odd shapes. So it's crazy that she like found these microscopic pieces that were like on Celeste's body, but then also were in the garage at some point part of this pool, kind of setting up that like absolutely David did this in the house, because how would these little fragments end up in Celeste's body? Okay, so we've had 3 people take the stand so far today. So much drama in the courtroom. So before we kicked off today's like testimonies, there was so much drama. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you guys what happened. So essentially there's this creator, shout out to Annie Elise, 10 to Life. Love her, but she, I guess, had an employee who was here yesterday, and she was using a laptop with like a Google Drive document open, and I guess like Annie had access to that Google Drive from a different state and was able to like look at the notes that her employee was taking and then make like posts about it, and that's really against the rules. You're not allowed to record, you're not allowed to tweet, you're not allowed to send emails or anything in court. So that is a big no-no. So they ended up calling her up to, her name is Jessica, I'm not gonna say her full name, but they ended up calling her up to the judge. So it's in the record, like it's gonna be in the records. They wanted to make sure it was. They called her up and the judge was upset. She was mad. She said it was disingenuous, it was incomprehensible. She said that she yelled at, like, Celeste's attorney, like the family attorney, got yelled at yesterday, like, for having his laptop out, and they had to explain all the rules over again. And then, like, literally 50 minutes later is whenever those public posts started going public. So yeah, the judge was not happy about that, and they kicked her out for the day, but they said she can come back, so she should come back. I don't know if she really meant to do that. There was also an incident with Steve the investigator. He was hired by the homeowner of the mansion where Celeste was unalived. He was part of the grand jury, supposedly, so he was. And Beth Silverman, the attorney for David, did not want him to be in there because he's not supposed to be like talking to other witnesses. I guess if you're part of like the case, you're not allowed to go and just attend. So 2 people kicked out in the beginning. Also, I found it interesting that Beth Silverman literally said she's been watching my videos. So great job. I'm so like impressed by her and her work so far in this case. And I need to tell you guys what actually happened so far, but this has just been the drama in the courtroom. So much drama in the.
Now I wish I wouldn't have. See, I would have should have listened to his, because he saw what happened in the courtroom with SF and everything, and he's acting like she, Beth didn't do anything. So yeah, there's always 2 sides, So I wish I would have waited to say anything until I watched it. Now I'm starting to get a panic attack. See, when I think about my health, I start to get all worried, and now anyway, yeah. Did we already watch all this?
The courtroom. So before we kicked off today's like testimonies, there was so much drama. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you guys what happened. So essentially, there's this creator. Shout out to Annie Elise, 10 to Life. Love her, but she, I guess.
That's the thing, though. Some creators get a pass. If that was me, I would have got so much crap. I would have everybody would have been talking crap, bad, canceled. But certain creators get a pass. So she's not. No, she could do it, and yeah. Anyway, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for all the super chats. Now I'm feeling better. I just needed something to eat. Now that I'm just like, wait, yeah. Now I'm starting to calm down, and then telling you, I noticed a correlation. I know hypoglycemic, you don't really get diagnosed or anything. It's just like you need, sometimes I think it's your sugar gets kind of weird or whatever. And plus I just had my blood work done too. Everything was okay. Besides my cholesterol is a little bit high. I'm trying to eat better. But yeah, my blood work was all good. Anyway, I never had a girlfriend from Texas, Jamie. I'm not sure what you're even. If you're talking about me, I never had a girlfriend from Texas. What? Okay. Let's see if there's any other updates. If not, I might just end it, guys, and then if there's any late updates after the court, and it ends, I could do them tomorrow. I want to work on my other stuff. Hey, Mel. Let me see if there's anything else real quick, though. Oh, I wanted to show this. I don't know. This person says, David revealed to police officers that he was on tour in Australia with SZA when police showed up to his house and confronted him about sleeping with Celeste, who was only 13 years old. He met her when she was 11. I just came back on tour from Australia. I thought she was 18. So that's what he had said, probably in the body cam that they showed about it. Remember, they showed a body cam, was it yesterday or the day before, maybe, when they went to his house, and he must have said, oh, I just came back from tour in Australia. I thought she was 18. And then it shows him right here with SZA and Celeste. All right, let me see if there's anything else here. There isn't any other ones. So the next one will probably be at the end or the next break, or a lot of the times after lunch they'll just do it like, you know, the evening or whatever. But let me check one more place. I know I could go through all of Trapler Ross and go through all the other people's updates, but they're going to be all kind of repeating the same stuff from what everybody else is saying. I'd rather kind of just wait. Let's see. I just want to check one more thing though. Plus, I want to take Zeke out, and why isn't that coming up? All right, that's really weird. Yeah, I feel a lot better now. I just needed something to eat. Like I'm starting to cool off. I was like overheated because it was weird because I was getting really hot too, which is hot in here because I had my air off. Okay, so that's another thing. And I drank some water and ate, and I'm feeling myself all cool off and get better. But thanks, American, for the concern. I have very sensitive skin. I'll get hives and breakouts. If you've been following me though, you will see. Here's, if you type in preliminary here, and here's what comes up. Yeah, I have very sensitive skin. I hate it. Or like red, blotchy. I get that. Yeah. I mean, it's my whole life. I'll get like a hive on my face. The red cheek, that I never actually got quite like that, where just my one side was a red cheek. That never happened. But I'll have like little, I'll say and tell them, I'll have like, I don't know, or I'm allergic to stuff. Okay, it says David murder case, private investigator kicked out of court, which we know TMZ and SF, they have a little ego thing going on where like they're like competing, and it's like he'll talk, SF will talk about them, and it'll be like back and forth. But actually, I don't really haven't seen TMZ like talk about him, but it's more SF will be like, yeah, like I'm trying to think of some of his posts, but supposedly they have a little thing going back and forth. So they were probably actually happy to post this. Oh, he got kicked out. I bet you. I could be wrong, but Little E says, what my opinion, it may zing a little. The probable cause, just as much as the burden of proof, was met on 4/23/2025, somewhere on 10/30. As truth be told, this isn't like the late Morris Black and Robert Durst, or a self-defense. It says Beth is expected to call at least 4 more witnesses. Sit tight, 3 more days. The trial's more like the seeing is believing trial. A few weeks ago, the prosecutor had what they needed for the defense counsel. As for the state, we'll be getting their reply by the end of the week. Huh. What? Wow. Well, if there was a 3 of 10 in Florida, just as much as in New York, would be chaotic. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna go over. I'm not gonna play. I was gonna play that clip where Annie, a clip that somebody pulled on Reddit of Annie basically, admitting, not admitting, but she. Oh shoot. She one of her short videos where she actually says, I got somebody live that's giving me the information, so here's the update, it's live happening now, where she actually says it. Okay, and I guess she's taken down like her videos now of doing it, But where she actually clearly says it on there. And it's on Reddit, but I'm afraid with my luck, if I play it, she'll strike me because she'll be mad. You know what I'm saying? Even though a lot of people are playing it because they're showing it, but with just my luck, she'll come at me and strike me or something. So I'm going to share you the link. You guys could go check it out yourself. I'll share the link. Okay. And you guys could go see yourself. It's just a little clip somebody grabbed off of, they put it on Reddit. Here it is. If you guys want to check it out. I'm not getting a chance of her striking me. But there you go. Check it out. And that's it, guys. I haven't got the last half of updates, but like I said, I'm gonna work on the ciders. If you're following me on the ciders case, I'm still putting together that video of a compilation of the whole house, and I'm picking out items. I'm finding different items. So I want to do that, and then any updates I want to see, put together something there. And yeah. Yeah, we do, I'm saying we do. We do. And I'm telling you, if that was me that did that in the court, I would be canceled again. Nobody would give me any leeway because I don't know. It's just it's not as fair for everybody as it is. But of course, Annie, it's fine because we know Annie did something similar to what I did that I got canceled for, but she got swept under the rug. Nobody ever said anything, and then she was able to delete it off her Patreon. And it's like, but I got basically murdered my reputation, which is why I'm struggling. You know, I would be way in a better position with my channel if that didn't happen. But yeah, everybody will just sweep that and they'll still support her and nobody will say a word about it. It's just it is unfair in the world. I guess it's the world we live in. Some people they don't have it as fair. They have to work harder, or they have different rules. I feel like I have to play by a different set of rules. It's crazy. I know you guys maybe people that aren't aware may think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, I'm not imagining this. Yeah, so oh, thank you, Velvet. Thank you. Um, yeah. Good for you. Thank you, Adele. Thank you. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Mhm. Thank you, yeah, Adele. Oh, thank you. Oh, it's okay. Well, all right, I'm gonna go. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody said I was giving mods money from what? Me making new mods had nothing to do with anything but the fact that I needed new mods. I needed more mods that so when people, a lot of people are on different time frames. So like It's like, man, I've been wanting to get some new mods because a lot of people won't be able to make it only into certain lives. So I was like, yeah, here's a time to do it. Been putting it off way too long, and I was planning on doing it live like all these days. So I was like, I'm gonna need a few mods. And Will, you had asked, and I was like, yeah. And I know Sydney, she had asked before, she was in the chat, so I was like, yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.